element analysis of the scrap rubber pad, okay, for low cost seismic isolation. So we already looked at that. We did some experiments and we had obtained some values for the mechanical properties in terms of vertical stiffness and the vertical ultimate buckling load capacity. Now, for regular rubber bearings, okay, we have the formula established. And those are like, you have the volume of rubber, basically like, multi-layer rubber and steel shims. And for that, analytical formulations are quite readily available, and we utilize that for design of the bearings. But these scrap rubber type tire isolators, these have wire mesh in the volume of rubber, and then it could have like, it can have steel shim or it can be without steel shim. But the idea is that there is no analytical formulation available. Okay, and we cannot test infinite number of bearing. So it is instructive to actually study the numerical model of these bearings so we can predict some of these mechanical characteristics. So through this finite element model. Okay, so the idea was to basically create finite element model of these scrap rubber tire using some of the rubber numerical models of the rubber. Okay, and to validate with the experimental data and then use that validated numerical model to further predict the behavior in the mechanical behavior in the horizontal and vertical direction. Okay, and we utilize the software LS-DYNA. So I'm not going to go much into the concept of it. What is shown here is basically like, a difference between conventional and isolated building structure, which I have already explained in my previous lectures. Okay, now.
Will you make it full screen?
Yeah. Let me just go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Now, the application of conventional bearings, okay, are limited due to basically high cost, heavy weight, and huge sizes. And if you think at it, most of the residential houses, especially in the high seismic zones in India, okay, most are there like, 1 or 2 story residential houses, which are like, great risk to any kind of earthquake. So if you consider either the northern part of India, okay, or the northeastern part of India, these like, constitute of majority of region which are like, subjected to very high seismic excitations, but the residential houses there are actually at great risk because these are non-engineered constructions, okay, and these are not properly designed against these earthquake. So, and the conventional bearings, seismic isolation bearing, we cannot even think of utilizing that for those type of structures. Okay, even for normal structure in urban areas, we do not think about isolation. Only for critical structures, we start to think about isolation. So the idea was to whether we can develop these isolation bearings that can be utilized for low cost structures where people can easily afford it. And as it was mentioned that the total cost can be brought within 10,000, people would not be that reluctant to utilize those bearings once this technology is demonstrated to them. That is a big thing, that technology needs to be demonstrated. Okay, now the first part of that was to manufacturing process and then doing some preliminary testing to get the properties which was already presented. The next part is to do some numerical modeling, and this is still the work ongoing. Okay, and we look at that how the numerical models actually compare with the experimental model. Once we have the verified and validated numerical model, the model can be utilized to do all sort of analysis. Okay, so this is basically what is shown to basically the application of rubber pad. Different people have come up with different type of designs. Okay, and if you look at this, it could be simply rubber tires, multiple rubber tires just bonded to each other below wall or plinth beam. It doesn't have to be shim, or it can be connected through nails, or it can be connected. So let me just go ahead and maybe connected through. So different approaches have been actually adopted. Okay, And people have come up with different type of bearings. Now, one of the very extensive studies that was actually performed, it was in Japan by Mishra et al. Those were those utilized actually the radial tires, the type of tires that we are considering. Okay, and if you look at it, these are just multiple rubber layers connected basically and bonded to each other. But they do not utilize steel shims like what we do. What they utilize is basically steel reinforcing codes, which were already there. Okay, but no steel shims in between. Okay, so they did a lot of analysis and static testing, dynamic testing, shake table testing, and produced some results. Now, the research that we are focusing on based on radial tires. So there are two type of tires as what was explained initially. One is the radial tires, which is made up of steel. It's composed of steel codes. These are suitable for heavy vehicles like trucks and trailers, and these have larger vertical load capacity. Okay, and these are basically carcass layer to the radial to tire. Okay, so if you look at it here, these are the multiple chord layers. Okay, and these are the rubber treads that you see, as opposed to cross ply tires, which are of nylon cords. Okay, and these are not suitable for heavy vehicles like buses and trucks. Okay, carcass layers are basically inclined. If you look at it, these are not perpendicular, but these are actually inclined 50 degree, okay, to the radial axis. Okay, now the tires that we have used, and I've looked at this example. Okay, these are basically Michelin tires, okay, of 315 by 70 specification. Okay, and if you look at the close-up view, these are how the radial wires look like in the volume of rubber. Okay, and the idea is actually to model the isolator made up of these tires. Okay, so we took the specification from here and then we tried to model it. Okay, now one of the major challenges in finite element model is to get appropriate material models that would be included in your finite element model. Now, rubber, as you would you might know, it cannot be modeled as an elastic material. Okay, rubber shows hyperelastic behavior depending upon the strain level. If you look at it here, and there are different type of models that have been proposed. The problem with each type of model is that these models, the parameters in these models actually require experimental testing on the rubber material to calibrate it. And we do not have right now those experimental data on coupon of the rubber, although we do have on the isolators. Okay, so two of the very famous model that are there are the Muni-Rivlin model and the Neo-Hookean model. Okay, now these models utilize less number of parameters. There are much detailed model as well, but we are not going to look into that. So for this, these type of models can be utilized. Okay, so basically this is the our specimen. Okay, and this is the paper that Institution of Engineer paper that one based on which the last presentation was there. Okay, so basically we modeled the rubber layer, the wires inside the rubber layer, the bearing plate, and then the steel shim in between. And this is basically the specimen here. The area, as mentioned, is 200 by 200 mm. Okay, we used mild steel plate of 25 mm thickness for the outer steel plate. For the shim plate, we used 2 mm thickness. Okay, now natural rubber hardness that is used for this type of rubber is of the Shore A hardness 65. And as was mentioned, that adhesive was Chemlock 205. The shape factor for this is 1.282. Now you have to be very attentive here. Typically in the previous lecture, we have said that seismic isolation bearings have shape factor above 10, between 10 to 30 is very common. But here it is 1.282. Still it provides enough capacity. The reason is in those we did not have the wires. Now, the wires in the rubber volume is effectively performing the same task that the steel shim is performing, and it is basically constraining the rubber layer, although not in plan, but through the bonding between the rubber and the wire, it constrains the too much deformation of rubber layer. So for this case, even the low shape factor as low as 1.282 might be effective, as we will see that later. Okay. So we did some axial compression test, 6 samples, maximum load of 200 kilonewton was applied. Okay. And as you can see, the average vertical stiffness came out to be from all these samples is 21460 kilonewton per meter. Okay, and these are the pictures of the loaded specimen. So shear test was also performed under a constant vertical force of 80 kilonewton. Okay, the average effective horizontal stiffness was found out to be 450 kilonewton per meter, and average shear modulus was around 0.81 MPa. Okay, so as you can look at here, these values have been there. Okay, so now basically we want to simulate the finite element model and compare the values. Okay, so these are some of the objectives is to investigate the existing work on seismic isolation using scrap rubber tire, develop a finite element model of STRPS specimen, use a static analysis to find out the compressive stiffness of the specimen and compare it with the analytical solution available from the literature, and then simulate the finite element model under the same test condition, boundary condition as the experimental test and validate the results. Okay, so the model was actually created in LS-DYNA. These were the 3 solid elements with 8 noded hex elements were used and 20 noded hex elements were used. Okay, with reduced integration techniques. And this is the one layer of the rubber, 200 by 200. The total, so basically the analysis was done in multiple steps. We know that single rubber layer thickness is between 20 to 25 mm, but we wanted to see if we have the same thickness of the single rubber layer, how does it affect? And the introduction of steel shim, how much stiffness does it tame in the change in the vertical direction? So we consider a single rubber layer, although this is fictitious. This is not a specimen that we produce or tested. This is just to study the characteristic. So we consider a single rubber layer instead of double rubber layer here of 40 mm thickness. Okay, and Blatt's KO rubber was basically used as material with these parameters, and then the steel was used. Okay, and then we also consider analysis of single rubber layer, again with the similar element properties and everything. Okay, in this case the mesh size was used as 10 mm. Okay, and the boundary condition was used. These were restrained at the top and bottom in the 2 horizontal direction. Okay, and the analytical analysis was also done, but these analysis parameters were from the analysis of rubber layer without any reinforcing codes, okay, or wires that we have in scrap rubber tire. But we will see whether those formula are valid or not. Okay, so 1 mm of displacement was applied in the top nodes. Okay, and the vertical stiffness was calculated. Okay, so if you look at it first, the effect of the node size, the mesh size, and the number of nodes were studied. So if you look at it, if 10 mm by 10 mm by 10 mm is considered, the vertical stiffness is 6.5, and if it is reduced to 5 mm, then the vertical stiffness is further reduced to 6.43 into 10 to the power 6. So there is not lot of difference. So the 10 mm mesh is appropriate for this kind of analysis, and the maximum pressure has also been determined here. But 20 noded quadratic element actually gives a significantly reduced stiffness here, which is not appropriate because for the quadratic element here, does not perform that good with large deformation, and there is always some convergence issue unless it is properly validated. Okay, so what is shown here is the force displacement curve for 1 mm, and if you look at this pressure distribution is actually same as what we have seen in previous slides. So if you look at the compressive distribution, the analytical compressive distribution, you obtain the similar kind of pressure distribution here. Okay, with the vertical stiffness 6.5 into 10 to the power 6 Newton per meter. Okay, so here is some comparison of the analysis using the finite element model and the theoretical results. And if you look at it, the finite element model matches somewhat closely to theoretical result, which gives you 6.05 into 10 to the power 6. And here we have utilized basically the G of 0.81 that we have determined experimentally. Okay. And if you look at the maximum pressure at the middle, it is 2.1 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. And analytically, it was obtained as 2.27 into 10 to the power 5. This should be 10 to the power 5 Pascal. Okay, so finally, once we had compared with analytical results, we wanted to do the actual analysis, and this was the configuration of the steel codes that was considered in our STRP bearings. Okay, basically all the steel wires were measured, basically modeled along with the rubber volume. Okay, and these were constrained using beam in solid constraint. So this provides some type of bonding between the steel cords and the rubber layer. And this is how the rubber basically steel cords look like. Okay. So what was done here in this case? Okay, 1 mm of displacement is applied at the top node again, and the value vertical stiffness is compared. Now if you look at it, the vertical stiffness now has increased to 21.9 into 10 to the power 6, which is increased by 236% compared to the case where steel cords were not included. So if you look at these, okay, if you look at these, steel cords were not measured, just the single, just the rubber layer. Okay, now when the steel cords are introduced, the vertical stiffness is increased from 6.5 to 21.9. So the vertical stiffness it increases by 236%. It is because of additional restraint that is provided by the cords. Okay, and if we compare, so the next step was to compare analysis of 2 layers of rubber, because that was what we tested experimentally. Okay, and we did the analysis using finite element model as well, and we tried to find out what is the vertical stiffness. So vertical stiffness comes out to be 1.97 into 10 to the power 6, and a theoretical result is basically 1.955 into 10 to the power 6. Okay, again it matches very closely with the theoretical results. Okay, and the peak pressure 4.53 into 10 to the power 4, it also matches with the theoretical stress here, which is 4.9 into 10 to the power 4. Okay, so the analysis of 2 layers of rubber with steel shim in between, it was performed and the results were compared. So if you look at it here, the vertical stiffness comes out to be 10.89 into 10 to the power 6. Okay, however, our experimental, and then when we introduce steel shim in between with and without codes, if you look at it, okay, so this one, the lower one is without code and the upper one is with code. The vertical force deformation, okay, curve that is shown here. If you look at the vertical stiffness, it is 41.1 into 10 to the power 6 Newton per meter. Okay, so there is increase in stiffness due to combined effect of the steel shim and steel cords. So it has increased now 6.5 to 41.2 into 10 to the power 6. Okay, so this is the model that we have, and this is the comparison of the finite element analysis result, and these are the experimental. So this is the finite element and this is the experimental. Now initially the stiffness was comparable to these samples, but if you look at it, this deviates as the loads or the deflection is increased, and there is this much of deviation there. Now this is due to the I mean, this could be due to the material model. This could be due to other finite element analysis procedure. But the idea is that in the future work, all these issues, appropriate material model would be found out. And we have used the most simplified material model. This could be further utilized, this material model. Okay. This material model, different material model that we looked at it for rubber and the steel can be utilized to actually compare the results. Okay, so these are some of the basically future work that are, so as I said, this work is still going on, and these are some of the future works that are planned, okay, for this study. Okay, these are some of the references that have been utilized in this presentation.